Hey y'all, welcome in. So in this video I'm going to be sharing with you how to stand up for yourself to narcissists. So justice is a really beautiful concept when it comes to self-protection from narcissists. Justice is another word for truth. It's also another word for balance. And there is a balance in our sense of justice that has to do with whether you speak or whether you stay silent. And when this is out of balance, we experience injustice. And usually what causes that injustice is some sort of abuse of power, right? So if your boss is really toxic, standing up for yourself could cause you to lose your job. That's an injustice, right? You can't create that balance of justice and protect your personal power because someone is abusing their power. It's an injustice. If your boss is the type to go on smear campaigns, if you stand up for yourself, then you lose your friends, you lose your workplace safety, you lose your peace at work. And that's an abuse of power. And so, you can think of narcissists literally as power players. Have you heard the term power play? This is a literal thing. The narcissist's power is dependent on putting others down. They derive their sense of motivation in life, that drive that gets them promotions, that allows them to work, that allows them to do an okay job. They derive that sense of motivation by basically stealing from you, by putting you down, by bullying you. And when you experience these power plays, you feel it. You feel it as some sort of injustice. And when that happens and someone has power over you, it's hard to see a good option, right? It's hard to see how you should stand up for yourself or what you do to, get your personal power back, right? This can apply to friend groups as well. If your friend group has a narcissist who is really likely to smear campaign you, standing up to that friend may not seem like an option. You lose your relationships with your other friends. And so when we have trouble standing up for ourselves, it's not because there's something wrong with us. It's not that we don't want to. It's not really that we don't know how. It's that a part of us knows that the consequences of standing up for ourselves will be too great. That maybe it's easier to just give away our personal power to others than it is to actually stand up for ourselves. And it's a cruel kind of pain that people put others through, abuse of power. Abuse of power. Not only are they abusing their own power over you with their titles or their status in the friend group, not only do they abuse that power, but they abuse you and your power, by taking from you so that they can live. And it's completely unnecessary, right? It's completely unnecessary. So, I wish I could give you like a simple answer to this, but it's not simple, the concept of standing up for ourselves. But what I'll say is, to truly stand up for yourself is to respond to the truth. Covert bullies are relying on you reacting to them. Those reactions come from you not seeing the full truth. But when you see the truth and you actually respond to the full truth, the hidden truth of what is actually going on, you activate a universal law called the universal law of protection that protects your personal power, that truly protects you. But what narcissists do is they get people in roles. Do you know what the scapegoat role is? Oftentimes when we stand up for ourselves to narcissists, we can be playing into what they want. They want a big reaction from us. They want us to yell at them. They want us to call them a name. And as soon as we do that, they go to everyone and they scapegoat us and they tell us we're the problem and they blame the victim. And they make you look bad to everyone else. And what that is is, they need to distract attention away from how bad they are and what they're doing. And if everyone's looking at the scapegoat, nobody's looking at them. So it's interesting how attention works for narcissists, right? They love the positive attention, but they'll be manipulating negative attention to a scapegoat. And, narcissistic systems, they all have scapegoats, they all have invisible children, they all have the favorites, the other, also known as the golden children. And but yeah, so we have to, it's kind of like a judgment that you develop where you know when to speak and when to stay silent. And when that kind of imbalance gets out of whack is when we actually start to lose our personal power, and like our solar plexus starts to get out of balance. I've said this before, I only clap back to bullies if it's absolutely necessary. And I said that with very strong accuracy and intention. I only clap back when it's absolutely necessary. Necessary to protect me. And so we want to look at our moral compass around protection. Are we seeking revenge? Are we, aimlessly and chaotically, trying to get back at someone? Or what are we really doing it for? The most healthy way to stand up for yourself is when our moral compass is attuned towards what is actually right, what is truly right. When we do things for protection and safety only. And then there might be some inversions about protection, about justice. If you've had any distorted masculine figures in your life, protection is very inverted, right? People can misunderstand protection as harm. Have you ever heard people say, "Welcome to the real world. You'll learn when you get to the real world"? Have you ever heard people say that? That's where this inversion of protection comes in, where people kind of believe that harming you is preparing you for the real world, and it's protecting you from the real world. It's actually conditioning you into the false world, into illusion. But that's not protection, right? Harm is never protection. So when we're standing up for ourselves, we're looking for what's actually protecting us and keeping us safe. And it's hard because there's like risks that are involved with this, with standing up for ourselves. Like, you can't control narcissists. Like, honestly, narcissists, they get out of control. They really do. And do you know why they get out of control when you stand up for yourself? It's really interesting. When we feel powerless, we lose control. When we feel powerless, we lose control. Highly narcissistic people are powerless, and they're dependent on your power. So when you protect yourself and you stand up for yourself, you don't give them the power that they are dependent on for control over themselves. So they lose control. They start going on smear campaigns. They start projecting their chaos without any care of the impact that they're having on others. And that's really how narcissists operate. They go around, feeding their chaos to everyone, saying things about people, and they're not really caring about what they're saying, smearing people. And they don't realize that the huge impact that they're having, that they're scaring people, that people believe them, that the people trust them, and that they're ruining someone else's lives. It's like they have no power to control themselves, to control their voice. It's like they don't know what is even coming out of their mouth. It's really interesting. I had a dream about this last night where this insight came to me. and now I'm like transmitting it to you. But yeah, so I've found, I've faced like retaliation for sure for standing up for myself. In narcissistic systems, there's this unspoken rule that you aren't supposed to stand up for yourself. And people, but again, you know, if we're falling into any of the old roles, like the invisible child, the scapegoat, we're not really standing up for ourselves. You know, we're just playing the same script. Because the scapegoat doesn't really stand up for themselves, like really, like like how I want to phrase this is that the scapegoat is still playing a role. You know, the scapegoat isn't free, and your ability to respond to the truth is what makes you free. So I'll give you an example of this. Recently on my channel, I told the story about me and this antisocial woman at the vape store, or at the liquor store. And I'll recap it if you haven't seen that video. Basically, a woman was being dominating, intimidating, loud, and lying. And then she tried to cut me in line. What I recognized there was a power play. That meant it was necessary for me to protect myself, my power. I wasn't just going to fade into the background and be the invisible child and let her do it. I wanted to break that script, protect my power, protect who I am, and what I deserve. No one deserves to be dominated, intimidated, lied to, and cut in line, you know. There's no, what is the word for that? There's no benefit to cutting in line and acting like that. It just harms others. It just harms people. She's just harming people. And she's not really getting anything from it, except for like a little smidgen of power that allows her to function. You know what I mean? So when she tried to cut me in line, I was responding to the truth of the situation. I saw that she was dominating, intimidating, and lying, and I trusted that. And so I looked her in the eyes and I said, "Did you walk in here first?" And what I did was I asked her a question that she couldn't argue with. She couldn't argue with it. And it was, basically I showed her the truth, right? I held up a mirror and I said, "Look at the truth. Did you walk in here first? Look at the truth." And that truth she saw that truth in the mirror, and it stopped her dead in her tracks. She stopped. She started self-soothing out loud. I'm not judging her, but it stopped her dead in her tracks. She couldn't do anything else because I held up a mirror of truth. And so to not stand up for myself in that moment would have looked like not responding to that truth, making excuses for her. I literally had someone, I told someone about this story, and they said, "She probably just had a bad day. She probably was just anxious." No, that kind of mindset is when we don't stand up for ourselves. I could have thought, oh, maybe she just didn't see me. Oh, maybe she does actually know these people. But instead I chose to trust the truth. And in that trusting of the truth, I was able to stand up for myself. Activate that universal law of protection. I responded to the hidden truth of what was actually going on. That she knew that what she was doing was wrong. That she knew that, you know, she's harming people and that's not normal behavior. That was the truth I responded to. So I said, "Did you walk in here first?" And the way she reacted, you would think that I did something crazy. You know, she started self-soothing out loud. You'd think that I did something awful to her. But I didn't. I held up a mirror of truth. But if I would have started, you know, judging her and been like, "Oh my god, this fucking bitch," and I would have, like, started fighting with her, that wouldn't have been standing up for myself. You know? If I would have yelled at her or whatever. It's not the same thing as standing up for yourself, you know? That would have been me playing a role, you know? My usual role that I was given when I was a kid was the invisible child. So for me, like, I've never been the type to, like, fight people. I've been the type to slowly fade into the background. But you have your role. You know, whether you were the scapegoat in your childhood or the golden child, or the invisible child like me. Whatever, they want you in that role, and that role keeps you giving the power to them. And yeah, if I would have just faded into the background and been like, oh, it's okay, she can go first, I don't mind, I would have been giving my power away. And the ability to stand up for ourselves kind of comes from the release of fear, right? I'm not afraid to set boundaries with people, and I'm not afraid of narcissists. I'm not afraid of, like, why would I be afraid of someone who's dependent on my power? You know what I mean? Like, they're powerless. And when you don't give them your power, they become powerless. They're messy. They're sloppy as hell. But their power comes in their numbers, right? So if you're in a workplace or a friend group and there's a couple narcissists, well, no one likes to be ganged up on. And abusers stick together, and abusers will stand up for each other. Oh yeah, they will. They will align with each other. Because a lot of narcissists are really quick to, like, jump in on the drama. If one narcissist is trying to protect their image and distract negative attention from themselves, and another narcissist is scapegoating you, that narcissist is gonna be like, oh hell yeah, let's scapegoat her for sure, dude. Like, do you know what I mean? So, their power is in numbers, kind of. It is. Their power is in numbers. But, when people have power over you, it's really hard to stand up for yourself. It really is, because they will just, your sense of safety will be destroyed. But the thing is, there already was no sense of safety before you stand up for yourself. And that's the thing about safety, is we kind of, misinterpret safety, and we think that complying and staying silent and never standing up for ourselves makes us safe. It doesn't make us safe. It just, fucking is us ignoring the elephant in the room, just hiding from the truth. We're not actually safe. We're just pretending we are. And the way I see this on, like, a grand scale is, like, more people need to stand up for themselves in a true way. Because when the healthy people outnumber the bullies, those bullies change. And we're all tired of this shit. We're all fucking tired of this shit. I'm tired of it. Neighbors acting crazy. I love you guys so much who watch me, because I just relate so much. Neighbors, co-workers, friends, like, this stuff has to stop. Like, I'm not trying to be preachy right now, but seriously. When we stand up for ourselves, we stand up for everyone, but we have to make sure we're not getting in that role, that we're actually responding to the hidden truth. And that we're actually responding in a way that is in alignment with protection, right? So we don't harm people. We don't seek revenge against people. We only do what is absolutely necessary to protect us. It's like true defense. So, I love you. I hope this was helpful for you. Don't forget to like,